Good evening, everyone. Michael Devine here for another episode of Gray Matters Radio, a show for everyone who feels homeless right now in the crazy ass world we live in. Too far left, too far right. Well, join us in the gray. Who better than America's counselor to bring all of us together? All the bullshit. Let's throw it on the couch. Let's get us to come to an agreement. I know it's fucking crazy, but well, somebody has to do it. Crazy, but naturally I couldn't do it on my own. I'm arrogant. I overestimate my own abilities all the time, but not into something as important as unfucking America. So I need my good man Bill, the armchair quarterback, guide me along on the journey. What is up, my man?
What's happening, Mike? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's what's another week, another episode.
I was gonna say, I feel like I haven't seen you in like a week.
I know, it's a kind of a weekly little deal here, right?
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm just gonna jump right in because we have a lot of shit to kind of cover. So I'm just gonna jump it in. So before we get to our what the fuck kind of segment, our lovely segment that our awesome intern helped us come up with, I want to reiterate something. I feel bad about something that I'm always railing against people aren't really getting a full picture of something. Maybe they just hear something that they saw on the news and they just run with it. And I realize I did the same thing. The thing I rail against, I am guilty of. You know what that is, Bill?
What's that?
So last week we were talking where we kind of teed everything off with Popeye's chicken, right?
Oh yeah.
We teed off with it where everybody was beating the shit out of each other for Popeyes, and I was basically saying how fucked up America is.
It's still happening.
It is still happening. And now to realize I never actually tried a Popeye's chicken sandwich. I really don't know how good it is. Maybe it is something that is good enough for us to kind of eat. So what I did, now we have all kinds of new videos. So for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, you're going to notice our videos a little bit kind of better. We got some logos on there, and we even got switching software now. We can actually record segments. Tonight is going to be the kicking off of that. So I actually went out and decided to brave getting my ass beat to get a Popeye's chicken sandwich to see really how good it was, to really test out, is it worth people beating the shit out of each other? So
this ought to be good.
Let's get. Hey everyone, Michael Devine here, Gray Matters Radio. So last week we talked a lot about the Popeye's chicken sandwich and people getting into fights over and what it really mean about society, and even relating it into, hey, like, what did our veterans actually fight for? So thing is, I couldn't sit there and make all these comments about Popeye's chicken and the chicken sandwich and about whether or not it's actually worth fighting over. I wouldn't be a good reporter. I wouldn't be a good podcaster. I didn't actually test it out. So here I am, Popeye's chicken, and actually got the infamous chicken sandwich. Now, right off the bat, there was no fighting. I didn't see anyone getting their ass beat. I didn't see anybody, fighting, ditching in line and everything. So at least that one part actually went really well. So I'm actually going to try this bad boy. So now what we got here is a Popeye's chicken sandwich. You see, chicken sandwich. It actually is, it is Popeyes, right? So I'm actually going to try this thing and see actually how good really it is. So let's take a little test here.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's a tasty burger.
It's not too bad. It's kind of bland, to be honest. Not really salty. That's one thing at Popeyes is actually really good. I will say that this brioche bun is pretty badass, though. All right, I gotta go. Let me try again. Hold on, let me see. Maybe I'm just not getting a good bite out of it. I mean, it's good. Once again, the only thing that really stands out is how good the damn bun is. I mean, the bun is pretty fucking good. I mean, the mayo is mayo. It's just a pickle. I mean, really. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really see what the big deal is. I mean, it's a good chicken sandwich, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had better chicken sandwiches probably at Wendy's, to be honest, when the spicy chicken sandwich was actually good. I mean, I wouldn't fight over it. I wouldn't ditch people in line. Hell, I don't think I'd actually ever really quite eat it again. I mean, a lot of times you have to drive to Popeyes to go and get it. So, I don't know. I don't really think it's all that big of a deal. Bill, I brought you one, so I'm going to have you test one out because that's how, I want to be fair, just be one man's opinion. So, Bill, tonight, I got you a chicken sandwich, dog. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to finish this one. I mean, it's all right. I didn't actually get it to eat the whole damn thing. I did it just to taste test it out. So, my ruling is it's not worth beating somebody's ass over. So, on that note, everybody, I'll let you guys decide for yourselves. I'm curious to get your feedback if you think it's really good, but my ass don't think it's all that great. So, anyway, I'll talk to you guys later on tonight. Hey, everyone. Michael Devine here, Gray Matters Radio. So, last week, we talked a lot about the Popeye's chicken sandwich and people getting into fights over and what it really mean about society and even relating it into, hey, like, what did our veterans actually fight for? So, thing is, I couldn't sit there and make all these comments about Popeye's chicken and the chicken sandwich and about whether or not it's actually worth fighting over. I wouldn't be a good, I want to be a good reporter. I want to be a good podcaster. I didn't actually test it out. So here I am, Popeye's chicken, and actually got the infamous chicken sandwich. Now, right off the bat, there was no fighting. I didn't see anyone getting their ass beat. I didn't see anybody, fighting, ditching in line and everything. So at least that one part actually went really well. So I'm actually going to try this bad boy. So now what we got here is a Popeye's chicken sandwich. You see, chicken sandwich. It actually is, it is Popeye's, right? So I'm actually going to try this thing and see actually how good really it is. So let's take a little test here. Well,
it's a tasty burger.
It's not too bad. It's kind of bland, to be honest. Not really salty. That's one thing at Popeyes is actually really good. I will say that this brioche bun is pretty badass, though. All right, I gotta go. Let me try again. Hold on. Let me see. Maybe I'm just not getting a good bite out of it. I mean, it's good. Once again, the only thing that really stands out is how good the damn bun is. I mean, the bun is pretty fucking good. I mean, the mayo is mayo. It's just a pickle. I mean, really. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really see what the big deal is. I mean, it's a good chicken sandwich, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had better chicken sandwiches probably at Wendy's, to be honest, when the spicy chicken sandwich was actually good. I mean, I wouldn't fight over it. I wouldn't ditch people in line. Hell, I don't think I'd actually ever really quite eat it again. I mean, a lot of times you have to drive to Popeyes to go and get it. So, I don't know. I don't really think it's all that big of a deal. Bill, I brought you one, so I'm going to have you test one out because that's how, I want to be fair, just be one man's opinion. So, Bill, tonight, I got you a chicken sandwich, dog. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to finish this one. I mean, it's all right. I didn't actually get it to eat the whole damn thing. I did it just to taste test it out. So, my ruling is it's not worth beating somebody's ass over. So, on that note, everybody, I'll let you guys decide for yourselves. I'm curious to get your feedback if you think it's really good, but my ass don't think it's all that great. So, anyway, I'll talk to you guys later on tonight.
All right. So, one, that was cool. Now, I got the, make it all nice and fade in and everything. Now, Bill, true 2-word.
I love it.
We got a
Finally.
Popeyes chicken sandwich. Now, mind you, I got it a little bit earlier. So, now
I'm starving.
all right. So we gotta get your word for it here, man.
Have you met me?
I know you like chicken sandwiches. I mean, I really thought the Wendy's chicken sandwich was like a million times kind of better.
Right.
But, hey, what can I do, right?
What we got on here? Pickles? No, I'm sorry, no pickles.
That literally is like part of the secret of it. I mean, it's just like mayo, pickle, and chicken.
You would like pickles.
I do like pickles. I'm Jewish, man. I mean, like that's like me not liking like pickles is like me not liking bagels. I mean, that ain't right.
Well,
So,
yeah, and I remember when your brother Leonard used to always say to me, "You like pickles, don't you? You like pickles." Leonard was obsessed with that. You like pickles.
oh gosh.
All right, well here we go.
All right, so look, give it a well. I mean, I want to. Don't just take my word for it, but I mean, is it worth getting your ass beat? That is a tasty chicken sandwich.
It's pretty good. Now, like you said, I don't know if it's worth getting your ass beat.
Okay, so I missed out on the nice, juicy, succulent purchase earlier, Popeye's chicken sandwich. But so it was that good. I still haven't had one.
I know. So that disembodied voice you hear is our good friend, the inspector. Lee Dog, what is up, my man?
What up? How's it going?
Dude, it's been way too fucking long, man.
I'm sorry. You got us at snack time.
It is. I mean, it's not too bad, It's not worth getting your ass beat, Now, Leon, like, we were kind of talking about last week's show, and I basically teed up of, using Popeyes and, people getting in fights over that. I mean, among other things. I mean, school shootings, you name it. And I was like, man, we're sitting here celebrating our veterans that, they fought for our country. And it's like, man, this is what they fought for? Us fighting over fucking chicken sandwiches, right?
Hold on.
Right.
I gotta tell you, let me say this. This is a damn good sandwich. This is exactly what our founding fathers fought over. It's for great chicken sandwiches.
All right, so there you go. I mean, Bill thinks, it is worth it. And that, if anything, our founding fathers would think that, fuck it, fight over it, right? And
Amen.
I mean...
No, it's a chicken sandwich.
It's
bro.
a fucking chicken sandwich, right?
It's a chicken sandwich.
And so this is like, now, Leon, like our intern, because you know me, I always get worked up over something, and I'm always like, what the fuck, right? And it was her idea to go, well, why don't you make it like a regular segment called What the Fuck, right? And so it's me, with one of the things I was like, what the fuck? And then we're going to talk about it, and we'll tee up some bigger kind of conversation. And so I wanted to bring you on, well, one, because you're a badass, and I've been wanting to get you back on the show, but number two, I want to talk about what happened on Thursday Night Football last week with the fight that happened at the end of the game. Now,
was there a fight? Because I haven't heard anything about it.
I know, it's crazy, right? Like, they're like, what the hell happened? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was at work, so I missed the game, but I woke up and saw the news feed, and, it was like, hey, brawl, blah, 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 all this. I was like, oh, I got to look this up. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So I thought, like, Bill and I we're huge football fans, but I mean, aside from playing Pee-wee football, I mean, that's not playing football, right? Now, you played.
What about Madden football?
No, well, does Madden count? Well, it depends if you had a controller thrown and hit you in the head. I mean, then maybe, but I mean, I don't know. I think Leon would maybe argue, like, maybe getting hit in the head with a controller or maybe a sleeper hold after a bad play, and then actually, getting hit by a 200-pound person might be a little different, Bill, but we'll roll with it. But Leon actually has played at the collegiate levels. Brothers played, lots of friends have played, varying levels, Division I football, NFL, and so a lot of people were talking about just what happened and how bad it was and how everybody was just totally that totally crossed the line, and I was almost internally going, is this really much different than what was happening in Popeyes? And are we seeing what's happening in society now spilling over onto the gridiron? But I didn't want to just take my word for it. So, Leon, like, I want to get your thought, of all your experiences playing football. When you watched that, were you as surprised as many of us watching that, or do you have a different take on it?
I mean, yeah, I think I come with a little bit of a different take. You're out here, you're playing the game, you're passionate about it. I mean, it could have been a heat of the moment thing. I mean, dude did just get kicked in his nuts.
Oh yeah.
And he's getting double teamed. And as far as what I saw, Mason was trying to pull his helmet off on the ground, but just never got it off.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You got him charging you. You got a couple other dudes charging you. One dude was just kicking you in your head. It's a heat of the moment. I mean, not that he wasn't right. He wasn't intending probably to do like malicious harm to the dude. He just swung the helmet. It's not like he was intentionally. I don't think he was intentionally targeting to hit him in his head.
I think he would have swung anything he would have had in his hand at that moment. It could have been a football. It could have been a cleat. Anything he was going to probably throw it. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever seen that?
For sure.
Have you ever seen in all your years of playing someone take like something and use it as a weapon towards another player?
No, not necessarily seeing someone, rip off someone's helmet, and then swing it at somebody. But definitely when I played, you know, you're out there, game's close, you know, DBs, you know, I played receiver, so, you know, you got the little, you know, cornerback chirping at you on the other side of the line. You know, you come out there, you make a good play, you know, or they make a good play on you, and, you know, things are going to happen. You know, sometimes, you know, you just, you know, go for the helmet, you know, whatever. But I've been tackled and, you know, been poked in the eye, spit on, you know, punched in the nuts on the bottom of the pile. So, I mean, it's just a game you play.
Now, the thing is, like, you know, I guess where I look at it is, I mean, we've seen, like, bad fights. We've seen dudes, like, almost kind of comically, like, why are you throwing punches at someone wearing their helmet, dude? Like, come on. Like,
they lose their temper. I mean,
we've seen that. We've seen big skirmishes, brawls. I mean, that's just, like, to me, I don't know.
Well, why do people smash up their own televisions that they paid for when they get mad? Because they're not thinking right. They're not, you know, I think it goes along those lines when you punch someone with a helmet on. You're right, though.
I mean, but, Bill, when you saw
for sure.
I mean, Bill, what was your reaction? When you saw, like, it swing, like, did you think it jumped the shark? It was, like, one step over the line?
It was, I mean, it was savage as fuck, yeah. But it was, you know, when you go back, at first viewing, Myles Garrett looked like a madman. And maybe he was. But when you go back and then you review and you do see what, you know, the Rudolph, the quarterback, did to him first. Now, I'm not saying what Garrett did was justified.
Right. I'm not either. Right. Let me make that be clear.
But,
right.
But at the same time, like we said here, like Leon said as well, and we saw on the replays, you know, Rudolph went for his helmet, tried to rip his helmet off first. And again, I'm not saying that either one of them were justified in doing it, but he did go for his helmet first.
Yeah.
He did punch him or grab him in the nuts. So in Garrett's mind, he's pissed off right now. So he's like, you know what, you're going to do this? And he just happened to have the helmet. I mean, he was ripping it off, but I don't think he was like, I'm going to take the helmet off and then hit you with it. I think he ripped the helmet off and was like, holy cow, I got the helmet. And the guy was still coming after him, and he swung it. I don't know if it was self-defense. That might be a little strong, but I think he just lost his cool. It just happened to be right there. I don't think it was like a planned assault. Was it out of line? Of course it was.
Yeah.
Did he deserve to get suspended for the rest of the season? Probably, possibly.
It's in the rules. It's in the rules. You can't attack someone with the helmet.
Because like he could have been killed. I mean, if he would have hit him with the crown of that helmet, I mean, or at least like a severely injured.
It was just an ugly incident that escalated, but both sides escalated, and it went to that. I mean, it's a violent sport. I mean, these guys are paid to be violent. Like you can't always turn that on and off on a like a light switch.
I mean, you really can't. I mean, you know, this is especially nowadays. I mean, it's a fast-paced game. I mean, you know, you got dudes out here, you know, running, you know, 4.2s, you know, 4.1s. Not that wasn't unheard of back, and not that wasn't unheard of back in our day. I mean, I remember Joey Galloway. You know, that boy was out there. You know, he was one of the early best out there with the low 4.2s. You know, 4.1, putting up 500. I mean, you know. But these dudes are huge. I mean, you got linemen that are running 4.6s, 4.5s now. I mean, you know, the game's fast, and these dudes are, you know, 270 pounds. I'm not trying to get hit by one of these dudes. I can tell you that right now.
I mean, and that's where it's like, and I think we know this game is violent. We know there's always been tempers flaring. I guess the question I have for you, Leon, is why is that the first time we've seen it cross the line like the way that it did? And what does that actually mean? Because we're seeing it everywhere across the board. I mean, literally, getting a chicken sandwich. I know we're making jokes about it, but dude, a chicken sandwich, why is it got to escalate?
Hey, that was a really, really good chicken
sandwich. It's a good one.
But I gotta tell you, what's the price on that? What's that retail for?
Oh shit, I don't know. It was like $3-4.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe it was 99 cents, and maybe it was the price that brought the people in, because it's a pretty good sandwich.
I mean, because I just look
it's better than Wendy's.
Wendy's. Well,
I'm gonna say yes.
I'm gonna say Wendy's back in the day was better.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I like it better than Wendy's.
Wendy's spicy chicken back in the day.
Yeah, like the one where we'd always stop before we'd get Armada. Like that era of spicy chicken was the best, man. Yeah, it was good. Sure. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it didn't taste like regular Popeyes. I'll just say that.
It's good.
Not enough to fight over, but that's what we see. It's like we see it doesn't matter where we go. Things that would, hey, people have always yelled at customer service people. You have always treated people like crap. We've always had road rage. But it seems like it's almost like across the board, we're seeing like an equal escalation of things that normally maybe would cause people to get, upset. We're seeing it even more now. And that's the thing that worries me of now we're seeing it in our sports. And it's like, what does it mean?
Do you think we're seeing it in sports, or you think it's just? I think it's kind of always been there. I mean, it's just kind of. I don't know. I think that was kind of more of a one-off. I mean, yeah, it was in a situation, but I don't know if that. I don't know if that is like whatever. I don't think it's a.
Say like this. Oh, we're all about to be violent people out here and attack each other with our helmets now. Like that.
Right.
That's
I don't think you're going to see that next week, and I don't think you're going to see that next year. I don't think.
Well, and that's where I think, like, I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts, because when I look at the thing that is really pushing people, where things are really escalating, and everywhere, is people are saying things to each other they normally never would have. Where usually there was a line. Leon, when you were on, a few moons ago, talking about racism and the things that people say, and it's like, man, dude, Mike, there's always been racism. It's just maybe it's a little bit more out there now because of social media, but I do see across the board as a clinician, people are saying things to people they normally never wouldn't, right? And so I look at what happened to Mason Rudolph, and obviously, I mean, it's clear he started it. And I'm sitting there going, dude, like, what did he say that infuriated Myles Garrett so much to where he lost his shit? The only thing I've ever seen that was similar in nature was when Andre Girard had the flag thrown in his mask for the Browns, and it literally it made him go blind. It ruined his career, ended his career, and he was so angry, and he pushed a guy down where it was like
a referee. At first, it was a referee.
It was a referee.
If you put your hand on a ref, you're going to get a way worse penalty than.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean that's going to be.
Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, like Leon. I mean, you've played the game, man. I mean, do you think there's anything to that? Was there something that was said that normally would never have been said that was almost like the gas to the fire of that taking normal passion in football in a violent sport that made it go to the place that it did?
I mean, obviously there probably was something said. No one will ever know, because only the two people that was down there that during the initial altercation could truly tell you what was said, what was done, whatever. But like I said, I chalk it up to like just the heat of the moment. He went for a play. They felt like it was kind of late or after he had got rid of the ball. And, like I said, he's on the ground with him tussling. Dude comes over and kicks him in his head. So, he's getting attacked from all sides now. He's on his own. And I mean, I know if I was getting, attacked by multiple assailants, anything that's close to me, I'm swinging it.
Yeah.
So I really think it's just the heat of the moment. But, nowadays people do, since you see it more and you hear it more in the media, on social media, I mean, people do generally feel like they can kind of speak their mind just openly now. They can say, how they're feeling. But people also have to realize that whatever you say, there are consequences, good or bad, So everyone should be. I don't think you shouldn't have to teeter-totter and tiptoe on your words of how you speak. But everyone should, just treat like the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated too,
Because the thing is, like, and I think you bring up like a good point of, because I remember, like, I don't know if you remember like that Arena League game that we went and saw. I don't know if your brother was playing or not. And remember, like, the dudes were talking shit, and then like it was like the ensuing kickoff, and the dude he knocked the dude out and stood over top of him and went suck it right over top of him at 50-yard line.
Yeah.
That's a great insult, isn't it?
Oh, dude, and like literally knocked the dude, like blindside him, knocked it out, stood over top of him and went suck it. And it's like, you don't hear about that shit. So it was like what, the AFL or UFL, United Football. It was like and it's like, so is that shit happening everywhere? And it just happened to be right now. And
it's just an escalation of society, isn't it? I mean, you'd say suck it to someone today, right? And then next week a football player or someone else in society sees that, and they see that, and because you did away with it for so long. I mean, remember we used to have the telephone tough guys. Remember that back in the day, Leon? The telephone tough guys. Someone would talk trash to you over a phone and telephone, and then that graduated to internet trolls. And now internet trolls, again, through some anonymity, they will say some pretty terrible things.
Yeah.
And then I think people see this, and then it's like they get out into the real world and they get into a real life situation at a Popeyes or wherever you are, and then they will say or do things. It's almost like they forget that there's real consequences in the real world, because they've been seeing this stuff on YouTube, and they see all these fights, and they see these people trolling each other on the internet, and like it's not really happening to them, or they're not really seeing any consequences in person, and then they get this real situation, and it's almost like their instinct is like, what, bitch? What are you going to do about it? Not realizing like that person over there might actually do something about it. Might have a weapon, or might be crazy, or might not just give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think people, it's like brinksmanship, and you're like, screw you, and the other person's like, no, screw you. Well, where do you go from there? Well, now you start moving toward each other, and then you get sparks, and it's just, and next thing you know, you're fighting over a chicken sandwich.
a chicken sandwich.
Or a parking spot, or you're at a football game, and you're yelling about my team's better than your team over after 12 Budweisers.
I think someone tried to steal. So I think some lady wanted to fight us one time at Tuttle Mall when she was waiting for a parking spot, and I think we slid in, or
that time Bill and I threw a water balloon, and it somehow miraculously went through the guy's window and blew up on his dashboard.
We were like 13.
I mean, yeah.
And he was pretty pissed. Yeah, we deserved to get beat down. But that was the 90s. That was before the internet was really out there.
But I think the thing is,
exactly.
But and here's it. I mean, if you really look at me, think about TV, sport. Everything is about getting you to watch, right? So our media and our politics has been about how much can I stoke an emotion, a very intense emotion, to get you not only to pay attention, but to fight for me and vote for me. Our TV shows, all it is intense emotion. Our sports, intense emotion. Look at the
reality shows now.
Yeah, intense emotion.
Look where reality shows were 15 or 20 years ago, when they were actual reality shows. They just filmed people what happened. Now you see a commercial for these, quote, reality shows. And I'm guilty of watching them too, so I'm not putting people down to do. But all it is the commercial is all, the next episode is all drama, all fights, all people throwing stuff, all people drinking, all people yelling at each other. It's all drama. And then the impressionable people that can be impressed by this, it doesn't have to be young, but anyone who watches this, it's not really reality. They don't realize that, hey, you're not all rich. You don't attend all these rich parties. You can't just flip over tables. You can't just attack people on a whim. There are real consequences. So when you try to go do that in your actual reality life, guess what? You're going to jail. You're losing your job. You're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be ostracized. Whatever you want to do. But people, I think people have a hard time. Either they're not able to separate that, or they don't want to separate it. It's almost like it reminds me of the dude that used to think that they sit there and tell you that pro wrestling was real. Yeah. And we all used to like pro wrestling, but there'd be that one person no, it's real, and you're like, dude,
no,
it's cool, but he's not actually putting him in a hammerlock,
Well, Leon, I mean, you work a lot with high school kids. I mean, do you see that emulation of that emotion and that drama, just in your coaching?
I mean, it's with just like us, when the generation before us, we kind of learned from them and took their craft and what they did and kind of made it our own. So, I mean, with the kids now, I mean, they definitely, I mean, everyone's influenced by, whatever's going around, the hip thing, or if you're not woke right now, which I learned all these words just because, I hang around the kids. But,
basic bitch, and that's so extra.
Yeah, but no, it's just a different day. I mean,
Ratchet.
I mean, everything is super expensive. You remember back, when we used to go out and run around. You hang out the movie theater, all that stuff. You can go out with $10, $15 in your pocket. I mean, $10, $15 now. I mean, you're barely seeing a movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, but just the attitude's different. I think everyone just thinks that everything is handed to you, and you don't have to go out there and actually, kind of work for something. I mean, as soon as I could get a work permit, shoot, I went down there to that little school board office, got that little work permit.
Couldn't wait,
my
right?
little $4.25 job.
$4.35, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? $4.35 an hour. But it's just the evolutionary chain. Just things change, and I think nowadays we're just as a culture we're just we're way more sensitive now to certain things. You almost can't even tell someone. Imagine telling someone they're ugly nowadays, though. They might want to charge you for a hate crime for ugly people or something. It's just a different day now.
You know it is. I mean,
you're ugly phobic, Leon. That's your problem.
I mean, like what? I mean, because Leon, like
I love all people.
no, Leon, because your kids are older, right? And like, what do you tell your kids? I mean, like when whether it be what happens to Myles Garrett, you see the shit that we see on TV, just people like acting in ways that's not how we act in civilized society. Like, what do you tell your kids if they're old enough to ask those questions now and actually know what a bullshit question is? Like, what do you say? Like, what do you tell them of like this is what not to do or why that happened?
Well, you do try to, give them the best advice that you can, and in certain situations, it's like when we're watching, whatever, if it's a TV show, whatever it may be, sometimes they'll ask the question like, hey, why he do that? Be like, oh, it's a TV show. People don't generally do that in real life. It's for TV. Yeah. It's entertainment.
I think people have a hard time just
you try to do your best just to try to influence them in a positive way to make sure that that they can weed out the bullshit, because out there in the real world, most people are not there generally to help you. They're out there to further themselves or make a game for themselves. If they can piggyback off you and step on you. But to the flip side of that, though, there's many people out there, there's tons of people out there that want to help, generally want to try to, give you some advice that actually is going to, put you in a direction that is actually positive. It's just hard. That old saying, what is it? Takes a village to raise one. I kind of see that now. It's a lot of influence. You can't really do it on your own. You need a lot of help.
Yeah, and that's where I think it's like, I guess the thing that like bothers me, and I do agree what you said, Leon, where it's like, everyone's a lot more sensitive nowadays, and I think there very much is a big part of the generation where they look at the world in the way that it is and they're frustrated and angry, and I think a lot of times it was very much a just yelling just to yell and complain, but then it comes down to it's like, all right, you don't like the world, well then, all right, like go and do something, be part of the system, and then try to change it. But then it's like, well, I don't want to, and this is where I think when we look at, I don't know, as a clinician, I'm always looking at this, guys, is that I pride myself as a clinician. Like, if I'm going to help people, we actually have to understand and know what the upstream problem is. Like, what is actually causing all of it? Because if all we focus in on is the symptoms and maybe the after effects, well, then we're always, it's called the bubble hypothesis. You're just going to be constantly just chasing. Like, you might put one out, but it's going to pop up somewhere else. And when I look at society and what's going on right now, whether it be Myles Garrett or Popeyes or fill in the blank, it's like, do we really have a good understanding as to what is going on and why all this is happening? What's it attributable to? Is it just to generations or pussies? This is what's always been kind of going on. And I've thought long and hard about it, and I actually, one of my favorite shows that I watch, it's called Gold Rush, all right?
It's a good show.
It's a good show, right?
I love Gold Rush,
right?
I love Gold Rush.
And I don't know if you saw this week's episode, or at least watching this season. Like, my favorite character is Parker. He started off as like this 16-year-old kid, and his family just raised him. Basically, it's like, dude, like, thrown to the wolves. You're gonna do this, and he's grown in maturity. He went from being like a punk kid, to where he's changed and matured. And this season, it started kind of in the last couple seasons, but this season it's really interesting. And my wife's always joking around, like, did they catch the gold? I'm like, well, the show isn't really about that. The thing is, and it dawned on me literally just the other day while watching a show, and see, Parker, he always fought two things, all right? He struggled to learn how to treat his employees right because he was so focused in on making money that he would run his crew into the ground, and he would end up losing his best people. They just
they walk away. Yeah.
Exactly. And the first couple seasons, like, he didn't quite get it, but then he started understanding, and his grandpa, before he died, kept trying to get him to understand. It's like, dude, you want to make money, but you're going to lose all your best people, and you have to know how to take care of people, but then how far to push them. And it was the same thing with his equipment. It was always, you saw this like recurring theme of, well, it can run 250 yards an hour, but we're going to run it at 275 its max.
275,
yeah. And they always kept like, and his guys kept always like, dude, like, the same thing's going to happen. You're going to get there for a little bit, but then machines will break, and then you'll end up being down longer because you got to repair the machines. And he didn't get it. And this is the first season where, like, this last episode, one of his guys, his wife really wanted him to come home. She was pregnant, and normally in the past he'd give the guy a hard time, and then and he'd work him into the ground. The guy would be pissed off, but then he went and let the guy go. Didn't even really say much about it. And he's been calm about things. And it was just, I was looking at it as the people that are running this world, this country, and the world in general. I look at it as that show is a metaphor for what I think is going on in this country, in the world, where you have so many people being so greedy, pushing the envelope to what they can get away with to make a profit. Whereas in Gold Rush, it's the guys getting angry, fighting, and then finally going, fuck it, I'm not going to work for you anymore. And then in our society, it's people knowing they're being screwed, people knowingly that the rich are gaming the system for their advantage. I mean, they're if anything, they're going now attacking like your very perception of reality. I mean, they did a study that released going 64% of people don't even know what the truth is anymore because they've systematically made you doubt it because it allows them to get away with what they want to. And they have been getting away with it. And are the problems we're seeing, Popeyes, Myles Garrett, all these things that we're seeing, the school shootings and how people are treating each other on social media, and the depression, the addiction. They've made the world such a miserable place. And they're getting everything that people can't take it out on them. So what do? They take out that frustration on each other. And
on each other, yeah.
And now in Gold Rush, they can quit and go to another mind boss. A machine, they can go and buy a new machine. But this country, you can't. And that's my theory as to what I think is going on in this country. The wealthy are pushing it like Parker pushed his people too far. And the result we're getting is addiction, depression, fighting, division, polarization. I don't know. I mean, Leon, you obviously have watched the show. I mean, it might be out there, but what do you think? I mean, do you think there's any truth to that?
No, it's a little bit. There's a lot. There's some weight to that for sure because that is what Parker does. I mean, Parker literally will, push everything to the absolute max, and when it breaks down, well, get it done. I need it done by like tomorrow night. And a lot of people do get stuck in those situations in today's society, stuck in a job where they think they can't leave to go somewhere else because, they might not, no one wants to leave a job and then start back down at the bottom, especially when you got years vested into, your job and then you just want to pick up and leave, for, a couple $1,000s, but, a couple $1,000s to the right people, the right person, the right individual that could maybe help. But that does roll over to even today. I mean, you walk down the street and people are generally, we all want the same thing. I want, to, make a wage, pay my fair share of taxes, raise have a house for my family, all that stuff, be able to hang out with my friends and family, take a vacation here and there. I mean, that's what we want. I mean, a lot of people, are, stepping on the backs of everyone else to, better themselves. Like I said earlier, there's always somebody out there that's, going to, push something so far that, it's going to make someone break. And, you push nowadays. Back in the day when we were in school, someone was bullying you around, what'd you do? I mean, shit, you hit that bully in his mouth, and it was probably done. He might not.
I cried like a little bitch and then brooded on it. Mike, what's wrong? Nothing.
Nothing.
I didn't like that jacket anyway.
I didn't want that.
I hate my lunch.
It's 25 below.
I actually want black eyes. It looks dope.
But seriously, though, growing up, my mom always used to say, don't start no fight, but, hey, if someone starts a fight with you, hey, go ahead and finish that fight, I mean, that was the day and age we came up. I'm not even teaching my kids to really hit nobody. I'm like, hey, if someone messing with you, hey, go tell your teacher if you're at school, And on one hand, I feel like I'm telling my kids to basically go be a little, little snitch or, a little tattletale, a little wuss. But no, I mean, you should feel comfortable being able to go tell somebody if someone's bothering you, and saying something. I mean, I think, that's one thing we didn't get coming up. You kind of did hold things internally, probably didn't go tell your parents everything that you probably should have told your parents. But, this day and age now, it's like, yeah, you need to speak up. Something's going on. Hey, go ahead and open your mouth, and tell somebody, but, it's like I said, it's evolutionary times of, just social media, all the influence in TV. I mean, hell, TV commercials. I mean, the only commercial we saw as kids was the eggs frying in the pan.
Yeah. Now we get Limu Emu, which, by the way, is probably the best fucking commercial of all time.
I don't know what that is.
Limu Emu?
What is that?
Oh, dude, you gotta Google Limu Limu Emu, for Liberty Mutual. It's the greatest thing.
Oh, yeah, man. When he's looking at the thing, like, oh, that's my partner.
And Doug.
That's my partner over there. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. How far we've come, man. How far we've come.
Man, we've come far, but we haven't.
I like the Captain Obvious commercials. Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Oh, those are really good ones.
Hotels.com. I don't need it right now.
I mean, but Bill, what do you think, man? I mean, do you think there's any truth that the problems we're seeing is because the people in charge have been pushing and pushing and pushing, and this is the end result of everyone turning against each other because we can't actually go after the people that are doing it?
I think it's a little bit of, like we said before, the chicken and the egg. Which came first? I think that our elected officials, our leaders, are seeing this kind of change in society where people are a little more cutthroat, a little more to the point, a little more about themselves, I guess, whatever you want to say. Like, they're more Popeye's chicken fighting people than they were a decade ago. So they're kind of feeding on it. Like Trump, for example, I think he's feeding off that. He's saying, okay, this is what the people are doing. This is what the people are liking. Then he's kind of tapping into that a little bit. Well, then now the other side, the Democrats, are saying, well, man, we can't be left behind. So I think you got two sides of politicians feeding off each other. On top of, you have them seeing what's going on in society. Subsequently, then you see society mirroring, well, here's what our politicians are doing. I need to be more like them. And I think you go round and around in this cycle. So it's kind of like which one is influencing which. I do agree with you, and I think that our leaders at the top on both sides need to just kind of stop it and just be like, listen, take some moral responsibility. Yeah, I know it's all about winning at the polls. It's all about winning the next election, having the power in the House and the Senate, and on and on and on. But listen, what's best for country?
For the people.
Yeah,
the country. I mean, everyday people. Like,
but the problem is,
they don't have
politicians to
measuring
give up
contest
some of this
on
power
behalf of
and
American
money, because the money goes with the power, and that ain't happening. So,
that's the fucked up thing, I think, is that where, I mean, God, I mean, it seems there's so many problems anymore that it's like, it's just almost like there's a distinct sense, like, can we even actually fix it? And who's even responsible for it? It's just, this sucks because, I mean, my wife and I are debating whether or not we want to have another child, and, and it sucks when, like, kind of one of the reasons that you think about going, like, fuck, like, shit's kind of bad, like, I don't think you'll find many people sitting there going, I think things are going a lot fucking better.
Come on, I have to disagree a little bit there. Leon, you help me out here. Mike, people had kids, 5, 6, 7, 10 kids during the Great Depression. Come on, don't tell me now it was so bad. I'm not saying things are as great as they could be, but let's be honest here. From people might be foobarred, but unemployment's at an all-time low. Our economy's booming. I mean,
yeah, but who's it booming for? If you're in a lower 51%, it's actually worse.
You can't tell me now that it's so bad that you're
but I guess where I look at it's bad is that it's about, we don't have the ability to solve the greatest problems that we have. We have it to where our healthcare system is getting to a point to where you have two tiers of healthcare, where you're going to have people to where there's cures for diseases that we're not going to be able to afford, and we don't have anyone sitting there going, this is not okay. The ones saying it's not okay don't have any power to change it. I mean, take a look at, like, autism, right? We have 1 in 57 boys being born with it, which basically you almost feel like now it's like a fucking crapshoot of whether or not your kid's going to have something, yet nobody's talking about it. We have our climate is changing. Regardless if you want to say it's man-made or not, we have colossal, drastic changes happening in our environment. And it's not to be like an alarmist or anything, but it's just, if we could actually, like, solve problems, then I wouldn't be as scared about it. But that's the thing, we can't. I mean, we're distracting ourselves with putting money and resources and energy into shit that doesn't even fucking matter. Somehow
you're exactly right,
dude. I mean, seriously, man. It's somehow illegal immigrants seem to be more of a threat than like fucking ISIS. Like, and like that's okay where it wasn't okay before. I worry more about my daughter with depression and suicide and drug addiction than I do about terrorism. But yet, we don't have anyone. We had like it was 300,000 people died last year to suicide, and yet. How much are we talking about? What is it about our society that, regardless of how much focus, attention, awareness, and finances we put into addiction, and mental health awareness, the numbers keep getting worse. We know mass shootings are getting worse. We can sit there and get all cute with, well, what is technically? We all fucking know we didn't worry about getting shot at schools, right? And so it's
for sure.
Yeah, and so it's like these are the problems that are facing us. We're not dealing with them. They're getting worse, and we're not addressing society is the disease. We're talking about we're focusing on the symptoms of the disease, right? Let's work on the nausea for the cancer or the pain, and that's where 100% of our effort is. But the thing is, it's like, man, we could be talking about mass shootings. Listen, I may not be popular in saying this. Like, I think we need gun control in some way, shape, or form. But guess what? Guns are just simply the tool. We're not guns are the tool, and we're not talking about what is the disease that's making people so unhappy and to where they're going and doing this, and why is it our young men are the ones that aren't able to handle this shit? We have men. It seems like every other day you're reading something about some murder suicide where girl breaks up with guy goes and shoots him, his kids, and does suicide. We have young men going into schools because they're mentally unstable, shooting people. We're not asking a question of why is it our young men are pussies, basically. That he can't handle anything.
That kid in California the other day, man, that was messed up. He shot up the school and then himself on his 16th birthday.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's like,
it's crazy.
And why is no one asking? Why is young men? We're not talking about that. That's the shit I worry about, and we can't even talk about it because we're being distracted with bullshit that's going to get people elected and get them ratings. Or, at least my opinion is that we actually don't want to look at these things because that would require us to change. We don't want to.
Uncomfortable change?
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to look at
it. Don't they say change is uncomfortable?
Yeah. Yeah.
People want to sit back and
it shouldn't be smooth.
Yeah, people are more comfortable sitting back going, go Trump or go Clinton or go whoever's running, rather than saying, hey, man, you know what? Maybe some of the things my quote-unquote candidate is saying is kind of messed up. Yeah, I agree with him, and I can say this as a guy, I am a Trump supporter, but I got to tell you, some of the things that Trump says and does, I don't agree with.
Yeah.
He's just like the lesser of evils when I look at who's running. It's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, who's going to mess up the country the least, do I think? And it's not saying it's always correct, but that's just,
well, that's the thing, and you're making your own informed, decision. A lot of people don't even do that. They just listen to whoever's influencing their ear or whatever news media news outlet they're listening to. Because depending on what TV station you're listening to, you're going to get biased information.
Oh yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
you gotta watch all of them if you want the truth. If you want the truth on a story, you got to watch Fox News and CNN, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
literally, it's
right.
That's
right. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, everyone has their own agenda. They have to appease whoever they need to appease. I mean, the game is rigged.
Oh, totally.
Until you start taking the multi-million-dollar boys club out and get rid of some of these people that have been sitting in there for 20 plus years. I mean, you're not going to get too much change because that's where the money's at. The money's in the older generation. But until you get that influence out, it's going to be hard to change. I mean, could you imagine trying to be, even if you were savvy and you had everything going for you and you were 24 years old, but you wanted to come out and try to run for a thing, you think you really would have a chance? I mean, unless you were like, Mr. Popular, even with social media attention. I mean, you couldn't gain enough steam to beat someone that just raised, $38 million, during the election period. So it's just, it's rigged. The game is rigged.
Yeah. And that's where I think everything always kind of circles back around. And I think it's just when we have conversations like this, it's like, all right, like and that's where I think it's so easy we can sit there and talk about football, right? And it's like, well, Mike D, come on, man. It's like, it's a violent sport. We've seen shit like this all the time. But then it's kind of like, well, we start like zooming out and looking at everything as a whole. It's like, man, there's a lot of overlapping data points and data points that are seemingly maybe not connected. You really look at going, well, damn, like maybe all this shit is kind of connected. And there's a lot more to all this. And I think the bottom line comes down to is that people are frustrated, backed into a corner, angry, upset, and we have nowhere else to take out that frustration on each other. And then to boot, we have our media, we have our TV, we have all this shit where we're just massaging every intense emotion. We're making it even more intense. This is the shit that we get. And the question is, and Leon, like one of the big things I've been, because me, I always love to bitch and moan about something, right? But it's not, and there's enough assholes out there podcasting where it's just about complaining about something. But really it comes down to like, all right, well, how can we take what it is we've learned when we look at a particular issue and, and try to look at it from all angles and go, okay, like with all that being said, hey, like what can we do about it, right? And so I'm going to start with you, Leon. I'm going to go with you, Bill, and I'll close it off for us. But when you kind of take what we're talking about, Leon, as far as what we have the power to do, the ability to do to maybe reverse course and maybe quiet things down, to maybe try to get a course correction of just this dynamic way of going on in this world right now, what do you say, man? Like what are one or two salient points that we could probably do that might have an effect?
Number one, first and foremost is, you got to get out and vote. If you truly want, change, you have to go out there and exercise your vote. I talk to people all the time that, that say that they don't go vote because they're like, oh, my vote doesn't matter anyway. They're not reading that shit. It's a waste of my time to drive over there and vote. But, that one vote, not that it really that elections have come down to a few votes here recently, but it does matter. But instead of bitching about hey, this, that, and the third, this guy sucks, hey, go out. If that guy sucks, then go out there and find a candidate that's better. But then we just have to be more mindful of each other. We are by nature we are sensitive and caring and loving people. Because of the recent just everything, the turmoil, everything that's happened, in this country or even around the world in the most recent years. It is making people angry and frustrated and expecting more. These are elected politicians, and they're not working in our best interest. Hell, these people can't even have a meeting and find a neutral a resolution amongst themselves. It's just a war. It's just a war, and it's at the people's expense. You have Flint, Michigan, their pipes. You got
still,
other
it's
people
still like the people can't drink the water up there. No one's talking about it. Yeah.
Exactly my point. I asked that question the other day to somebody. I said, hey, has anyone else heard anything about Flint? And they're like, no. It's like, out of sight, out of mind. You don't hear about it anymore. Obviously, they hear about it up there in Michigan because they're living and dealing with it. Most of us just go through our, daily lives just, oblivious to, anything that's going on. You just, you go to your day-to-day things and come home and it's cool. It's fine and dandy. But, obviously not everyone has that luxury. Everyone doesn't have a nice, comfortable house, with cable TV and heat and, refrigerator full of food. That's what we should be really talking about. There's a lot of people out there that could, that need help, and we all could do our part to give back. And that doesn't necessarily mean, with donations, with money. Even your time. Simply volunteering at the Boys and Clubs ranch or something, and just giving your time back to somebody to try to boost somebody else's spirit. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, you do a lot of that, man. You do a lot. I'm actually really makes me feel like shit. Like I'm like, damn, I need to get out there and fucking start doing. I help America and I counsel people, but yeah, dude, you're always out there doing something. Whether it be coaching and giving back, man, it's real impressive.
Well, that's just part of the coach. Big D. He was taught me and taught, a life lesson of things, of how to do things. I mean, he flew, took me on trips and did all kinds of things that, I could never pay him back for. And I had that discussion with him, like, hey, I can never pay you back for, all this that you've done for me, in these years. And he said, I don't expect you to. I expect that when you get situated in life, your kids are going to have, a friend that might not be able to do certain things. And, hey, I want you to do, like that with them, show them that, you take yourself out of certain situations and do better. You can always do better, but it's a mindset. You got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to, leave and, leave home. I mean, some people just get stuck in there, what they're used to, what they're accustomed to, and they just never get out and see what's on, on the other side of the train tracks.
Dude, I think that is so fucking underrated. I mean, you got to get out and get different experiences things. I mean, I grew up here, lived in Texas, I've traveled to Europe, and I've been everywhere. I've been in Asia. It's like that seeing different perspectives. I mean, you were in fucking Bismarck. I mean, like, you go from Ohio to Bismarck. I mean, like, dude, like, you have to get that, man. I mean, and that is so underrated to get a different perspective of things. I have people on our Facebook, they get an argument and I'll give them evidence of something. They'll be like, well, read this, and then, well, I ain't going to read that liberal bullshit. It's not even it's like, so you're only going to read the shit that validates, what you want to think. But then when you have something else that you want to basically read, like, you're not going to, and but that's the mindset we're in.
Well, it makes people feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
They read stuff that they agree with, and, oh yeah, see, I am right. It's
it's fucking nuts. So, but no, that's good shit, man. Bill, what do you got, man? Any solutions that can unfuck us, man?
Well, it's just, you gotta start small. I mean, what the old but good quote from Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, if you don't know where to start small.
Yeah.
Start with around you locally in your life, what you see every day. I mean, just the little things that I try to do, and this is just kind of more of my nature. And, I've said it before, I'm such a passive-aggressive person. I know that I am, and I know that I have anger issues from time to time, being passive-aggressive. But, it's the little things, trying not to be angry in situations that might warrant it or might not. Just the little things that I try to do. I try to always say when I'm out in public, please and thank you. Okay, you'd be surprised how many people don't say that anymore.
Yeah.
You go out to restaurants, or you go out to the grocery stores, and sometimes it's other people, sometimes it's the people that work there that just, you tell them thank you. I don't hear them say you're welcome. They just walk away and don't even acknowledge you. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you hold the door for somebody.
Hold the door.
For
Exactly.
Something simple. Yeah.
Hold the door open.
No
Something
says
so
thank you.
tiny that people don't.
Right.
Not saying nobody does it, but it's not what it was even just a few years ago. People are more busy. They're on their phone. I mean, you go to any red light now. Any red light. I challenge anyone here tomorrow or whenever you hear this.
Always gonna be on their phone.
Go
yeah.
The next red light you go to. Just look around. And I'm not talking about not texting and driving, because that's a whole other thing, and I know that's dangerous. But just people are just so self-absorbed. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes. Of just now, me. What's going on? What's next? It's no one's playing long ball. No one's worried about the long-term effects. They're worried about right now. What am I getting enough likes on Instagram? Am I doing this? Like you said, you only want to listen to what opinion agrees with you or what article agrees with you. It's just like, try to see it from other people's point of view. Just take a step back, take a moment. I say this to my 4-year-old whenever he gets frustrated. I say, Max, take a deep breath, count to 10, and just let it out. You'll feel better, and then try again. And I try to do it to myself. It's just a little. I guess what I'm saying is just the little things. If you don't know where to begin, and maybe if you don't have time to volunteer, or you don't have time to coach, or something, just be the change you want to see. Be the example. So when you see one guy, screaming and hollering, or some lady screaming and hollering at Popeyes or wherever it may be because they didn't put enough pickles on the sandwich, and
more pickles.
I go to Burger King all the time.
Mom,
my kids love Burger King, right? They want fries, shake, and chicken, right? And so we go there, and I gotta tell you, I love Burger King, I love you, but you get my order wrong a lot. I don't get mad about it. I just take the stuff off the burger.
So I asked for a bacon double cheeseburger, and they had no fucking bacon on it. Of all things to
Don't
leave out of
sweat
it.
Like, just lead by example, I guess. I don't know. That's the only thing
You cannot get good customer service at a fast food restaurant now. I've been to a lot of them, and yeah, I mean, you got one job. I'm telling you, my order, it comes up on the screen. I worked at McDonald's, for crying out loud, in all my work years, and I mean, we had 90-second drive-through times. From the time you ordered your food to the time you paid and got your food was 90 seconds. That's what we had to have at that McDonald's back in the day.
I mean, look at Popeyes. I mean, yeah, people like literally was it 7 people just got fired from Popeyes for getting in a fucking brawl in the maybe that's why customer success so bad is that they're fighting in the fucking back. I don't know, man.
Well, they fighting because you still expect these people to work for $6 an hour, for the same job we were making $8-9 even 10 years ago. I mean, it'd be hard for me to.
Dude, and that's going right back to my whole big point of all this is that we're pushing and pushing and pushing to maximize profits, make the most amount of money. This is the shit that happens. You push it and push it and push it, and shit starts breaking. And this is the shit that is starting to break. And I guess just to put a bookmark on everything, and just kind of really do my whole therapist thing and put this issue on the couch. But I think there's a lot of different things that we can do. But I think the number one thing is we got to start humanizing each other again. The brand of politics that we're in right now, and the media that we're in right now, the games, it's really is a dehumanize the other side, where you're almost subhuman and anti-America or the enemy if you believe differently than what I believe. And we see that everywhere. I mean, if you're rich, poor people are less lazy and that's the reason why they're poor, and so you don't respect them. If you're a different race, a different religion, a different fill in the blank, if we're different or we think different, we dehumanize each other, even down to even prosperity gospel stuff with people like Kanye, where it's basically because God loves me, that's why I have all that I basically have, and so if you love God more, you're going to get all this shit too. And it's that's not humanizing each other.
Is that why it was?
Oh, it's prosperity gospel, man. Look at that shit up, man. It's fucking bullshit, man. But different show, different day.
Why are so many rich people such assholes, though?
Dude. It's because they feel entitled.
I'm just
man.
saying though,
Yeah.
if they were so great, and that's why I got I don't know.
Yeah, but they feel different, special, and entitled. But that's the thing. We all feel like the rules don't apply to us. We're different, special. We all guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. But we got to humanize each other again, and that we're all human beings. And
it's like the '80s all over again. It was the me generation.
The me absolutely,
decade,
dude. Yeah,
and I feel like we're back in the '80s.
If anything, worse. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so we got to start humanizing, whether it be with our children and basically teaching none of us are different. I don't give rich, poor, whatever. Helping people, volunteering. That's a big thing that we're going to start doing with our daughter during Christmas and Thanksgiving, volunteering, going and helping out, giving, seeing how the other side lives, stopping instead of someone who you don't agree with, actually understand and talk to them, find out about why they believe what it is they do. And you don't have to agree, but feel understood, feel heard. I think if we can do that and humanize each other again, I think that's when all of a sudden we start acting like a country and human beings again. And if we get that, well, then none of the other shit will play because we're not going to do it. That's what I think we got to do. And that's where I look at this. This is that holiday season where, we typically, see the worst of the worst, right? And I'm hoping now with our badass little camera setups, I'm going to start, hopefully on Black Friday, I'm going to go out there and start videotaping, interviewing people, seeing the crazy ass shit that we see out there. And
haven't they cut back on that a little bit though?
I don't know, man. I mean, you do see it's called this movement called conscious capitalism. It's kind of like an oxymoron. It's kind of like saying that's like saying it's non-burning gonorrhea. It's okay, it's that doesn't even exist, right? So but yeah, I mean, you have people going, well, we don't want our people to work on Black Friday or whatever, and so you do see a little more, but it's just, I think we can change that. I think we're on to something here, but it also, we can't trust our elected officials because they're just going off of what we give them, and so they know it works, and so it's on us as parents, as communities, really bringing it back down into our own communities and raising our family, having a community, regardless of what the bigger world is kind of doing. And I think we can do that. I think we're kind of onto something, how else would you get a bunch of friends like us who've known each other for a long time, come from radically different walks of life, and yet we all still are friends. We all, even if we disagree, we all still are really good friends. We might bust each other's balls,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but it works. And I think there's something to that. So So on that note, I want to thank Leon. I know we only supposed to have you on for 15, but man, you're on the whole time. The inspector, we appreciate you on, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. I know. Look at that. When you have great, friendly conversation and chat, hey, you never know how long.
Dude,
you can
we got to
for.
start getting you up actually in here into the studio, man. So we gotta figure out when you can get up here more regularly, man. Because I love having you on. It's always a good time, man. So thanks for taking time out your schedule, man. It's not the easiest of things to do, but it's always a pleasure, my man. And then Bill. Of course, the Armchair QB. Get him on the Armchair Quarterback, only on the 614 Radio Network all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I am Michael Devine, host of Gray Matters Radio. And so just remember, everybody, next time someone asks you, Democrat, Republican, you red, you blue, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever the fuck it is, all you got to just say, go, hey, guys, fuck that noise. My ass is gray. All right, everyone, you be good to each other, all right? And you know where we'll be at every day. You can catch us on the 614 Network, past episodes, or every week you're going to get new episodes of the Armchair Quarterback and Gray Matters Radio. So you guys be good to each other. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.